Good morning. We're about to get started with doing some of these mapping out of the feather patterns today. And I have my design guide here, one of them. And we have the back, we have the all kinds of views. But what my job is today is to start mapping out the individual feathers. And I have big areas that I've got together there so that it's easier to see how it all works. And the way I'm going to try to do the feather patterns in between is using my calipers. I'm going to measure the gaps and just make tick marks on my clay, and then go in with my tool. And I've started to make those tick marks. And you want it to create like an overlap, the effect of an overlap. So you look at your model, you also constantly look back at your, I don't know if you can see that. The next sculpture is going to be up here so you guys can see it close up. But I took all kinds of pictures from the internet, and I have a larger format printer, so I printed this all out. Of course, if you have a regular printer, just, a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet will do just fine. And then just print different views, and you can see there's a basic underlying pattern. And then within those basic underlying patterns, you have the individual feathers that you articulate. So, yes, someone's asking, will this session be available after the live is completed? Yes, I keep them available, and I'm putting everything into the Barn Owl Sculpture playlist, so you can see it from the first day to where I am right now. So today, I'm just going to show you how I go along with this. So I hope you can see that. I'm going to make it close up. I'm going to actually begin to, see, I make a space right on that feather. And then I come over to here and I create a mark with the calipers. So it's exactly matching that. And then I go through the whole row that way. And then if I want to figure out what's in between here, it can be varied. Like when you look at all these pictures, you've got owls with ruffled feathers, so you can vary it up a little bit. As long as you have the basic shapes in place, you can go a little crazy with it, and it won't look that wrong. What will look wrong is if you don't pay attention to the major shapes and the major proportions, and that is the reason for the guide. And I drew these guides after observing at great length the photographs. And some of these photographs are taken from videos where I stop the video and I do a print screen. I do a capture of the screen and then print it. So you can get any angle you need by looking at a video. It's pretty neat. So you go to YouTube and find a video on owls or whatever you want to sculpt, and just stop it where you need it, print screen, and then that doesn't necessarily mean you need to print that. It's just you capture the screen and then print what's useful. So we have these 100% views. This is a life-size barn owl. And we also have these other views, life size, and then we have the 50% size. And all of this is in this Barn Owl Sculpture Guide, which is available, $5 to support our channel, available online. All these patterns are there so you can follow along, or after I'm finished, do your own project. And when I'm finished, I'll be adding the pictures of my finished owl to this booklet so that you can get even more views. So everybody who gets the booklet ahead of time can get the second booklet with the update for free. So just so you know that the reason for all this is to teach why sculpture is not so hard. If you measure your subject matter and you have consistent views to measure, like this is all the same size bird, then you can be amazed at what you can do on your own. You don't need to be like born with talent. You can learn to do this. The main thing is to be disciplined and just follow the rules and keep measuring, because once you stop measuring, that's when it goes crazy and you go, what? Why doesn't it look good? And that's why. So I'm going to continue on here and map out a few feathers. And take a look at our video on textures. All these videos are free on our channel, Learn Sculpture. It's YouTube/Learn Sculpture. You'll find the video for how to make feathers and fur and skin. And so it's a good training. And I think you'll see I'm using the tool, this tool that you will see in that video. So I will just continue on here. I'll make another feather. It won't look good until I'm all done, and I'm making it like overlapping shingles almost. Then I can smooth with my hand. And I'll have another little set of very faint feathers in this area. But this is the row that I want to get right according to my pattern. So now I'll measure the next feather. So it's hard to do this from a distance, but I'll measure the next area, right, like that, and go in and just make a mark. And I'm going to continue to do that now, looking at my pattern, measuring it, because it's very hard if you just try to eye it up. I tell people all the time, your perception is elastic. You start to see things if you look too long. And this helps keep you on track. Let's see, I have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And now 2 wide ones. 7. And you know, when you do this, if this is wrong, you'll know pretty quickly. And then you'll be able to make adjustments. So I have this. And then there's a feather, bunch of overlapping feathers right in here. Okay, so I see an area in here that I need to address. Right here. Now that's going to cause me to change a little bit of how I have that here, but that's okay. The other thing, I could have started from this side, but I see that everything will be okay the way it's working out. So again, I'm going to do almost like a roof shingle. So that one overlaps this one. And then I go to my next area. And that one overlaps. I cut in a way that it makes it appear to overlap. Like that. Now you might see that I've started to do, let's see if I can make that look more clear. I've started to do the overlapping back feathers just on one side, so I could show you this is an area that's undone, and here's an area that I've begun. So I'll just continue to work on this. Then the last feather actually goes the other way, so I will do that. Cut in, cut in. So this is an overlapping shingle here. Now, if you take too much clay off, all you have to do is, let me get my other tool. Let's see, I took a little bit too much clay. I've got warmed up clay on this heating pad right here. As you can see, it's real soft. And this is food warming plate. I forgot what I call it. But hello. Yes, somebody's making scientifically accurate dinosaur toys. Again, you want to have a plan, maybe on paper, for best results, and then just measure your plan to your clay and keep measuring, because that is really the key. All right, so I have to make these feathers overlap, and I took a little too much off there, so I'll put that back just a little bit. And I use my softened clay, because this is very hard clay. This is on purpose. This is very hard modeling clay that allows me to get a lot of detail as I go along. I can get a lot of detail out of this. Just trying to cut that under, just cutting under there. So right now I'm just mapping out my feather pattern, and I've got to create some cuts here, so I will do that now. Now, if you're a little bit off, you can always adjust it. That's the other thing about oil-based clay, is very forgiving. This is oil-based clay. Someone said the other day, or asked, is this natural clay? It is natural clay from the ground, but instead of using water to bind it, it uses oil to bind it, and it's a non-toxic oil. So it allows you to use it without worrying that it's poisonous or anything like that. Somebody asked a question. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Someone said it looks great. Well, we'll get there. It's slow. I mean, you want to enjoy doing this, because the fact of the matter is, to do well, it's not super fast. Anybody who says, oh, it takes me a day, I mean, I don't think so. Not good work. So, and then I have a tool I call a riffler. I've shown this on my other videos. And I like this because it gives me a chance to sort of smooth my work out and see where I am. I can even continue to cut in a little bit with that. I'll put a little row of feathers overlapping that too, but not too choppy. Here's the other thing. You want to create an accurate look, but you also want to vary it up just a little bit, because if you have it too regular, it starts to look amateurish. When you look at these pictures, you know, the feathers are blown by the wind, and they as long as you have the main shapes correct, you can move those feathers around a little bit and sort of fluff, almost like they're fluffing, because you don't want it so darn regular that it doesn't look real. In nature, you know, things are blown by the wind, and so, all right. So I have my tick marks here I just made with my tool, and I'm going to try to pay attention to the angle that I have it going up at. And I'll keep looking back at my, the pictures of the real owl as well. And for those, you need to go online and look for pictures, like look for videos. What's hard when you're first starting out is finding those major shapes in these pictures. I mean, you just see feathers and they look fluffy and soft. But that's why I created these guides, so you could see the main areas, you know, like this top part of the wing. That sort of sticks out. Let me show you an example. In the live owl, it's hard to see it all the time, but like on this one, you can see it. It's just hard to see it all the time in one picture. So there's another picture up here where you can see it. So these are patterns that, when the wing is folded, stick out more prominently. And then when you put your feather pattern in between those main shapes, it will look more realistic. So meanwhile, oops, let me do it where you can see it. I'm also going to use my finger to sort of push the feathers under. And right now, yes, they're blocky at the end. I'll fix that. But right now, I just want to map out the base, the main areas, map those out. And like a roof tile, like roof shingles rather, just make them overlap. You can add a little more if you need to, but right now I just want it to overlap. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. And use your fingers. You'll refer back to many of the videos we have, and it says to use your hands as your main tools. That's true. So you can see from a distance maybe the cut marks I'm starting to make. They don't have to be exact. This angle should be exact though, the angle that they go up, because I'm going to put another row over them, and you'll see that in a minute. Just looking at my work here, whoops. Like I said, if you make a mistake, it's clay and it's not water-based, it's oil-based, and you can go back and, like right there, I want to cut right there. And then another cut goes here. And the feathers kind of get bigger as they go up this row. And then you have this set of overlapping feathers here, and I'm going to sort of draw it out. I'm going to measure, but I'm going to draw it out. Then I'll go back with my calipers and measure it. It's almost like I'm drawing on the clay right now. That goes over it, over it. There we go. Over it. Now when I'm all done, and you'll see this again in the textures video, and all these videos are free, by the way, you will see you can brush these. When you're all finished, you'll take a paintbrush, like, well, I don't have one right here. Let's see. I've got tools up here, and you'll take something like a paintbrush. Maybe this one would be perfect. And you'll use alcohol, a little bowl of alcohol, like regular store-bought alcohol, and you'll brush over those feathers and make them really look perfect and smooth. In fact, I'll do that over the whole sculpture when I'm all finished. But I don't want to use too much alcohol ahead of time because it tends to break the clay down a little bit. But if you do it in just very minimally, you do it, you reserve it for the last part of your detail work, then it's so effective. And it looks, anybody who likes to work in water-based clay will really appreciate how that comes out in oil-based clay. So you can get those brushed effects that are, you know, you work in water-based clay right now, but you think, oh, how can I get that same beautifully brushed effect? And you can do it with oil-based clay. It's just a little bit different process. All right, so I have overlap here. Just going to work on that. If you have any questions later on, and this live stream will be available for you to watch after I'm done, go ahead and put your questions in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer your questions. I have 3 feathers right here. Tomorrow you'll see this area completed, and then we'll work on to the other side. And because I have a plan, you'd go, okay, how can I get the feathers to be right on the other side? Well, if we follow the plan, there it is. And you just do the same thing on this side. Map out your little shapes. You take your calipers, measure those little shapes, and start making tick marks on the back. Like I would go right here and make a mark like that. And then I would go to the next one and make the next mark, See that? And now I can go in and make those feathers, and it will come out to match this side. So trying to do that by eye would be very hard. But when you have yourself a plan, it makes all the difference in the world. And now you can become a sculptor where you thought, there's no way I could do that. You can do it. That's what's so great about this technique. So anyway, let me see about my time because my light's about to change here. I'm going to sign off, and this video will be available later. And you can put questions in those comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. Someone else just said hello. Well, yeah, you know what? You're right. Somebody said we don't have a lot of sculpture art lovers. But you know, actually, it's interesting because I think a change is coming. I think for a while, our marketplace for sculpture was flooded with not so great sculptures, and people stopped looking at realistic sculptures. I think that's about to change. There's new projects on the horizon, monument projects, all kinds of opportunities coming. Not to mention, it's just fun to do this. When you feel like you can do it, because now you have a method, it's like, oh, wow, what a cool thing to be able to do. I mean, just do it for yourself and just enjoy it. But I think you'll be very shocked with how much easier it is. Like I said to somebody the other day, I said, if this, here's my coffee cup. If I had a block of clay here and I have this here, if I keep measuring this like that, now I go over here, make marks on my clay, carve that part off, come back, do the top, do that. Eventually, I will be able to sculpt exactly this if I use my calipers. That's the whole idea to what I'm doing here. There's no way I can go in my head and go, look at these pictures and say, oh, okay, no problem, I'll just do it. Now, actually, some people are born to be able to do that. But the fact is you can learn. Chuck Oldham, who passed away, was so good. He could pretty much look at something and do it. But he had years and years of experience behind him. I was his student. And so I feel like I'm still learning. But because I follow his training and teaching, like measure things, I can feel like I can do it myself. I didn't feel like I was born a sculptor like he was. So that should give you all hope, unless you're already good. And I think every time you see this, you'll see a little more progress. I don't have a lot of time to work because I'm also a student in school. And so, but I will work, be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, unless we go away, and I'll let you know ahead of time. So, and I'll put in the community area my next plan. So you guys can check in at Learn Sculpture, youtube.com/Learn Sculpture, and see what is coming up. I also have some new sculptures I'll be starting next week. Gamble quail and an iguana. That ought to be fun. An iguana especially is fun because it has so many shapes. All right. So anyway, have a great day, and get your clay, get sculpting. Go to learnsculpture.org for information on the clay and the tools. That's our website. So I'll see you next week, Monday morning, coffee in hand. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.